Hello, Janet. How are you? Hey, Troy. How's everything going?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
it does. It sounds real for me. I'm hanging.
You're hanging. Yes. Hey, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Uh, on the new minutes that Sam sent out this morning,
Uh-huh.
there was a portion that was blocked in yellow from Keith. Do you see that?
Um, I'm looking at the minutes
If you
and
toward the
what
let me
page?
see.
What page was
Hold
that?
on. At least the second page.
Second page?
Let me get over there. Hold on. One, two, no, the third page.
Okay.
Uh,
Um,
right above director report.
yeah, mine is not blocked in. Mine is not blocked out.
Oh, mine's got yellow on it.
Okay, so we can, I can have Karen resend that.
Oh, no, I'm fine with it. I had a feeling that it was emphasized for a reason.
I think, Janet, that it might be because Karen's going to be working on that.
Because, I'm sorry, say that again, please, Sam.
I think it might be because, Karen will have to confirm, but I think it might be because she was going to try and pull something together for that, like a recap maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay. Keith is going to try to do that. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I thought Karen was, but we'd have to ask Karen.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can touch base with Keith too when he gets in. I thought it was a nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it says expectations to make sure everyone knows specifically what it is. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I see. It was for us to do a follow-up with the board based off of our ask. And just to make sure that we stay in tune with the board, I mean, with the members will stay in tune with what we're trying to accomplish. And
Okay.
hopefully make recommendations based off of our ask. Because sometimes you all walk away, because you go on to do other things, you got other jobs and responsibilities. So sometimes what we ask and what it sometimes gets people forget. And so what he was asking for is for us to do a follow-up to ensure
Okay.
that you all knew exactly what our ask was and that it would be that it would can be consistent as far as communication outward to you all. And then and then you will be able to be responsive to that request.
Great. Okay. Sounds good. Sort of like action items.
Right.
So people know what they need to be doing. Gotcha.
See,
Okay. Thank you.
Normally it goes in the hopper, normally you put
Right.
it in a hopper and then that way you can be able to actually continue to come back to it and
Right.
for continued conversation. But and I think we were trying to work on something like that. We haven't got there yet. There's been a lot going on these days, Janet.
Hey, we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
Yes.
And I see that Angie's on here. Congratulations on the new boss, the new CEO. Adria, I'm so happy for her. Congratulations. Tell her I said congratulations.
I definitely will. She's hit the ground running. I'm sure that doesn't surprise anybody, but we're thrilled.
Oh, I know it. It doesn't surprise me one bit. And she's been keeping us updated on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Everything. Yes.
So while we wait for people, here's my question to those who are here. If you had been in the Olympics in Tokyo, what would your sport have been? Troy, we'll begin with you because you smiled.
I am like the most unathletic person ever. So I don't know, some one of those weird random sports you've never heard about. I'd probably be in one of those. I can't think of any. So Or
Ooh, okay.
fencing, maybe fencing. Use a
Ooh, fencing, we had, I think, 2
They
people.
look like
fencing.
robots on there. They were all with all their.
They do,
It's kind of
yes.
cool.
Kentucky, 2 Kentuckians received fencing medals.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How about somebody else?
I'd have to do track.
Ooh, all right. Which
I read-
event?
I read track in high school, 100 meters and anything but long distance. Relays. But I actually won the Mason-Dixon in 67.
Oh my gosh,
In the
wow.
relays. So yeah, I'd stay with something I know a little bit about.
Yes, yes.
I
I
always
know-
want.
Oh, I thought Jeffrey jumped off for fear that I would call on him. Oh, now he's putting his mask on. That could be fencing.
Can I just ask, real quick, if all the board members could turn their cameras on so I can, count the form? Sorry. Keep talking about the Olympics, but if we could just turn our cameras on.
Okay, Neva.
Well, I am not very athletic either, and so I don't think I could have done anything at the Olympics, but if I were to have done something, I would love to be a person who was a gymnast. I can do a really good round off, but I'm afraid all the flying in the air, I don't think I could accomplish that. But it looks amazing, and I can imagine in my mind what that would feel like. So I loved watching all of that floor show and all the
Yeah.
gymnasts.
How long since you've done a round off?
Well, I've actually done it in recent years. It's a little more painful than it used to, but I have 2 little girls, and so we've been known to be in the backyard and do some cartwheels and whatnot. I'm not sure that it looks as graceful as it did when I was like 10, but I can
Yes.
do one.
I'm impressed. I wouldn't even begin to try. Okay, Jeffrey.
Had to, didn't you? If I had my druthers, it would be ping pong. But of course, cycling. Not that I could ever have kept up with any of those amazing cyclists, professional cyclists that raced in the Olympics. But yeah,
So you'd be in the velodrome going around?
or more likely on the road.
Okay.
They rode around. They rode up around in the environs of Mount Fuji. It was quite beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amanda, how about you?
I would be in swimming. I used
Swimming?
to competitively when I was like that early teen years, and so I would stick with that.
Oh, that sounds good. Any particular event?
Freestyle.
Okay. Okay. Boy, they are so much faster now than they were when I was competing. And as a kid, yeah. Oh my. Keith? If you had been in the Olympics, what would have been your event this in Tokyo? Whoops, wait, I don't have your sound on, I don't think, Keith. Whoops. Are you all hearing me? Yes?
There we go.
There we go.
Got
Great.
it. Probably track, cycling, swimming, somewhere in there. I like basketball, but my knees don't like basketball, so
Right.
kind of had to give that up.
You don't want to do the 3-on-3s?
Probably not.
I like that though. You're a 3 or 4 sport guy. So let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 10. Sam, where is our quorum number?
We need 12. And
12. Okay. So,
I see JD is on here. I think if he turns his video on, we'll have 11, but we're still
Okay.
missing.
I just know as a parent, watching
Oh,
the
they-
gymnast scares
Did they
me
say
to
they're not
death.
coming?
It just makes me a nervous wreck.
Yes, yes. And I
Okay.
think about
Absolutely
Simone
agree.
Biles talking about the twisties. That would be really very frightening, I think. Hmm. Deborah, how about you? What's your Olympic event?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even watch it. Maybe track and field. I don't know.
Shot put, Deborah?
No, maybe like the relay. I think I could do pretty good with the relay.
Okay. Gosh. JD, we're talking about what event you would have done if you had been in the Olympics in Tokyo.
I've been at the bar having a beer.
Yeah. A little sake for you?
Yes.
Hey, Janet,
Yes?
all these folks mentioned in track and mentioned in relays and how they ran that stuff when they were kids, me too, makes me think maybe we should have a catboard relay race and it could end at a brew pub for JD.
It could end where, I'm sorry?
Brew pub, of course.
Oh, at a brew pub. Oh, there we go. JD's nodding yes. That'll probably happen when Keith is president or chair. Right, Keith? Yeah.
When my son was in elementary school, they had, field day, and then they had a dad's race or something, and I can run a short race if I have to, I'm not good at long distance or anything. And the kids are all teasing me, and the parents too, that they were surprised that I could run that fast for a short distance. And I just reminded them I was a little gay boy in LaRue County, Kentucky, so I learned to run fast as a kid.
Is that a side benefit?
I suppose so, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Goodness. It's been interesting reading about the Paralympics coming up, and I don't know if you read about the swimmer, the woman that was blind and deaf. And because of the COVID limitations, her mother has always traveled with her, but they, I guess, I'm not sure exactly who, would not make her a coach so that she could be there to guide her. So I think, Troy, when you talk about being scared, I think about being afraid to let a child that has some kind of disability, particularly visual and hearing, travel without one person dedicated to them. That would be hard. Well, we're almost there, y'all. One more person.
If we want, we might be able to maybe jump ahead to a couple of the things that don't require approval, and we can see if we get that extra person, and if not, then we can go back and I'll, talk about the items that need approval, and then we can just put them. We can vote at the next meeting. Just a quick vote.
Okay.
Is
I think
everyone all right with that?
I think that works fine, Sam.
Great. Sam, then you pick it up where somebody is ready to present, if you would.
Brandon, you want to talk about vendor disclosure statement?
Absolutely, that's fine.
Okay, let me pull,
Can you all hear me?
pull that up.
Just a tad louder if you can, Brandon.
Hello, is that better? Hello?
Yes, thank you.
All right. And Sam, you're gonna pull it up? Sam, by the way, guys, I did text Jackie Baker to see if she can come in so you all have a quorum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so it's that time of year again, guys. First of all, thank you all for your leadership and what you do and what you provide for us, LAHEAP, Community Action Agency. I want to mention real quick about LIHEAP. We are currently in what we call the summer cooling phase, and it is busy. It's extremely busy. We're coming off a spring subsidy. We have these ARP dollars, American Recovery Plan dollars that we're spending towards now in the summer cooling phase, spending towards subsidy and crisis. Folks are able to get up to 400 in subsidy and 600 in crisis. So it's an amazing time. We're giving out a lot of money, and I'm excited about that. We're helping out a lot of folks and getting them up and running. But as I stated earlier, it is that time again, as Sam has shared on the screen, for you guys to fill out your vendor disclosure statements again. So this is basically if you are a vendor or you receive funding from LIHEAP, you just want to identify that your business or your agency below there. But if we can get everybody to sign and date this, and I believe Sam will send it out at the end of the meeting, you guys will have it. She'll send it out via DocuSign to make it super simple for you all to just sign and send back. That's it for me, unless anyone has any questions.
Sounds great. Thank you, Brandon.
Hey,
Thank you.
this is Andy Bates. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, one thing I did want to mention on this, that, you know, we haven't, in my memory, ever had a board member actually disclose, you know, being a vendor. But probably the most likely situation where that would happen is if anyone owns property and is a landlord. So if you own property and have tenants, and, you know, if those tenants, utilities are included as a part of their rent, then you could hypothetically become a LIHEAP vendor if your tenant were to apply for LIHEAP assistance, because you would be the one to receive the check from LIHEAP because their utilities are included in their rent. So this would only happen if you own property and if the utilities are included in the rent for your tenants. So just if anyone did meet that criteria, then you would want to make a note of that on your vendor disclosure form.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for anyone? All righty, great. Next item that someone is prepared to present on.
Juan, are you ready to present the financial report?
I am, Sam.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Juan.
Just want to update everyone. We're still working fiscal year 21. So probably the next meeting, we'll have a final update for everyone to review how we end for fiscal year 21. The financials for fiscal year 22 is up and we're expending funds. The current budget right now is $61.1 million. But I just want to make sure everyone keeps in mind, we have carry forward dollars that are not reflected in that overall total. We've also received some additional funding through the ARP, the American Rescue Plan. So those numbers will change. Today's report is a reflection of, well, point in time since July 28th. Also, we've only expended 5% of this year's budget when we did a point in time report. And that's around about $2.8 million year to date. But I'm looking forward to the next meeting because it'll be a lot more information just to see how we did for fiscal year 21 and to provide to the board. But if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
And everyone, make sure you have you're unmuted, please. Jeffrey, I thought you talked, but I did not hear your voice.
That's good. Thank you, Juan.
Jennifer gave me tips. All righty. Let's see. How about Cassandra?
I'm here. Good afternoon. I want to
So,
make sure that you,
go ahead, Cassandra, I'm sorry.
okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Hi, you all. Okay, I see on the agenda that we was to report out on the Neighborhood Place Resource Fair, and then Sam did ask me to present some numbers just on our eviction prevention program. So I'll start first with the Resource Fair. Our director had an awesome idea of taking services directly to a community, and that community was West Louisville. Simply because once we looked at the data, we showed that that was probably highest request for assistance area. And so we had come up with the date of August the 14th, which would have been this Saturday, to take services directly down to Shawnee Park. We have since postponed that event until next summer, for a couple different reasons. One, with the pandemic and just kind of the unknowns there, service providers were really slow to commit. And we wanted to make sure that this was going to be something that was within the mission of what we wanted to accomplish. Everything else would have been there, the fun, the food, the, stuff like that. But the purpose was to really get people connected to services. And we just didn't feel like we would have put our best foot forward in that regard, simply because service providers were just kind of slow to commit. And this was something, too, that we didn't really have a lot of lead time in terms of planning. We was trying to do something at the conclusion of the summer. And so just for those reasons, we postponed it. So I just wanted to update folks on that. If you heard, if you kind of heard that we were doing that out in the community. So that's been postponed. We don't have an exact date yet for 2022, but it's a great idea. People were very interested in it. And so it is something that we look forward to planning, so as long as we can do that in a safe way. So that's that. As far as eviction prevention, I will say this is one of the apartments, in addition to all of emergency management type of services, police, fire, EMS, hospitals, first responders, those type of folks. This department, Office of Resilience and Community Services, is one of those departments that has literally not stopped working since the pandemic touched our people back in March of 2020. In fact, our service delivery scaled up tremendously, and we have been executing ever since March of 2020. We have not stopped. One of those areas that we have not stopped in is providing rent and utility assistance to this community. Much of that has gone through Neighborhood Place, whether it was in my area or whether it was in Lahee, but lots of money on the ground in order to help people to mitigate these huge bills at the conclusion of the pandemic, as well as keeping people out of threat of eviction. And so I just wanted to, Sam asked me to put some numbers together. We have had several different funding sources. We've had funding come through foundations, private foundations, donors, general fund dollars through city government, federal dollars, state dollars, just a whole combination of funding. And with each funding source, the rules changed a little bit. We try to keep it very streamlined, but you all know as funders, we basically do what they say. And so sometimes the program has to tweak itself and it looks a little different. We've been working in partnership with the Office of Housing and Develop Louisville, our colleagues in a different metro office, and we've just been going nonstop. And I am very proud of the work that our team has been able to do. You all know that there was an eviction moratorium, but at the same time, evictions could have been filed. And people, even during the pandemic, they were still being evicted for various reasons. Some of that had to do with non-payment of rent. Other evictions happened just simply around rent violations and those types of things. Disconnect was not happening for a while, but we know that too has been lifted. And so just the work that we've been able to do, we've slowed down the number of court filings and evictions, and we also slowed down disconnections. And so since March of 2020 up until now, our department has issued out 21,583 checks. That is a whole lot of checks. That's a whole lot of assistance. That's a whole lot of postage. It's just that's just a lot. And that added up to the tune of 38 million, a little more than $38 million. And the good news is that, like Brandon said, we're not even done. I mean, we still have money to be able to help people, and we're doing that. We have been stretched. We, at times, we would run out of appointments. But again, I think we have done a really good job of making sure that there is a constant flow of assistance that is occurring in this community. So I just wanted to just put that out on the table and acknowledge that. There's still help is still available for folks who find themselves in need of assistance for things like rent and utilities. And our utility assistance is over and above LIHEAP. So if people need something more than what LIHEAP can provide, there's us. Not everybody in this community is income eligible for LIHEAP. So, there's funding available for those. Now, that particular program, there is no income guideline. So, and we know that this pandemic has affected everybody at whatever income level you're at. It's affected everybody. And so for utilities, whether it's LG&E or Louisville Water, there is no income guidelines to those programs. You just have to demonstrate need and submit the documentation, and we'll get you processed quickly. Now, and as far as rental assistance, again, that funding is still there. We did release more appointments on Monday of this week, so there are appointments available. That program does tend to lock up pretty quick, but this was kind of the first time that I've been able to say we released appointments and there's still some available. So, there's that. This program, we can help people up to 15 months of assistance. We can pay previous arrearages as well as pay rent forward. And that's not something that we as a community typically has been able to do, just because of funding. And there is no cap to the dollar amount. So if your rent, for example, is $900 a month and you qualify for the program, you get $900 a month. We're not making partial payments. We really want to make people whole. So a lot of work, a lot of money, and we're still not at the finish line. And there is a continuous flow, there has been a continuous flow of funding coming in for these types of programs.
Oh, whoa, come here.
Hey, Cassandra, it's Troy.
Hey,
You all
Troy.
do great work. Can you just share a little bit about the different funding sources so people understand where it's all coming from? Because that's some confusion that it's coming from Neighborhood Place, so it must be city dollars. I know that's not true, but if you just could kind of hit the highlights of those different funding sources.
Oh, certainly. And a lot of people, so like Troy said, a lot of people think that this is all city money, and it's not. Some of the funding has come from the state through the Kentucky Housing Corporation. A big chunk of the money has come from the federal government through the Office of Treasury. Again, we had some private donations. We did receive money from Metro Council. So it's coming in from lots of different places, even though Neighborhood Place, even though we're the vehicle to get the funding out. The city, at times is not always able to put together even kind of what the criteria has been. A lot of that comes with the funding source. They really tell us how to spend that. So it's a lot of different pockets. So city money, state money, federal money, private money. And we'll take it all.
Yeah, and community ministries are doing that to a smaller scale, but yeah, there's a lot of different pots of money, and all of them have different requirements and reporting requirements. So it's just a lot of paper. I was told we would be in a paperless society when I was in college, and they lied to me. They lied to me because I don't think I've ever had as much paper go across my desk as through the pandemic. But it's amazing that because we're able to support so many people.
We have been, and Trey, I've been with city government for 24 years, and I kind of jokingly said to Director Laird and Juan that normally my budget, program dollar budget, is like $700,000 for the year. And that right now is what we've been spending for assistance a week. So what my budget used to be pre-pandemic was $700,000 for the entire year. And now, we're spending that easily in a week.
JD, I'm curious, how are your members doing with all this?
I mean, it's been tough. I mean, it's tough on them. It's been worse on like the smaller mom and pops that have, a few units versus, property that's got 300 or 400 units. But, they seem like they've all, have all been willing to work and try and help all they can and be patient. That's the main thing I try and tell everybody is just be patient right now. So.
Right.
And I just want to say too, in this meeting, I just want to acknowledge the partnership with JD, because that too has been great. I mean, he's helped foster some relationships with landlords in the city and helped us be able to make payments directly, to landlords, where at first they were apprehensive about, what all this assistance meant. And I publicly say, JD, I really appreciate that, your work and your efforts in helping us do that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Cassandra. I think that's an important piece. It seems like from what I'm hearing from people that it's gone smoother here than it has in some other communities, partly because there are these partnerships. Is that your take?
Absolutely. And in fact, the Office of Treasury identified the city of Louisville, called us out by name in a memo that they sent to across the nation that we were a high performer. And basically what that meant was that we was getting our money out to the community, and then there's a lot of cities, and we was like one of three, I believe, like one of three cities. And then there was 2 states that was named by name. Louisville was named first as a high performer, and then there was 2 other cities that followed us. That meant that our grant funds were being spent, monies was getting on the ground. And there have been a lot of communities just challenged with how do we even get started?
Right.
Cassandra, let me just jump in, and just so you guys understand the scope of that. We were named as the #1 expenditure of federal funds in the country, not just a high performer. Cassandra, we are #1 in the country for getting the dollars out the door. We expended 90% of our funds by the end of May 31st. 90% of our dollars had been out the door. In comparison, New York City, we had spent, I don't know, 26 million, some ridiculous number. In comparison, New York City had spent the same period of time, $177,000. $177,000. So it is truly an amazing feat. The work that Cassandra's group and Tamika's group is doing over at RCS, getting these dollars out the door. It is unbelievable. And I literally just hung up with the U.S. Treasury, and they are again pointing out in a memo that is going out some of the things that we have done to get the dollars out the door. So the hiring of staff, streamlining processes, all the things Cassandra just talked about, they are getting ready to highlight in another memo to performers who are having difficulty getting dollars out the door. So kudos to Tamika and Cassandra and their efforts.
Yeah, and I just think I think that just shows how the neighborhood place model works. And Sandra, if you hadn't had to close a couple of neighborhood places, how much faster that would have worked. But, you know, budgets are strange things. We were in a panic closing things 2 years ago, and then this year we've done everything we can do to spend. So, you know, I hope that Metro recognizes how important neighborhood places are and the way they function in the community. So anyway.
Thank you for that, Troy. Marilyn, you need to pat yourself on the back too. And I mean, we're a bigger deal than I thought. So I appreciate you lifting that up too, because we've certainly felt, we certainly felt all of the work that has gone on. We have not stopped.
So maybe when we're back at a place where we can all be together, unmasked, this ought to be something that we celebrate, and the mayor needs to be there, and other elected officials, just hearing about neighborhood places as well as RCS. This is, I think this is really worth celebrating.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have worked so hard this past, it's now going into 2 years. And I have to say, without our partners, the ministries have been critical in helping us to be able to get where we are. These the access points for these households to get assistance has to be spread throughout our community. So there is no, so that way we can be able to assist wherever we may need to. And they can have access to it and hopefully be able to expedite the process in order to get it into the landlord's hands. One of the things that we are definitely trying not to prevent is for someone to go into homelessness. We don't need to increase that number. We need to actually mitigate that number and decrease it. That's our ultimate goal. But because of what we're dealing with around this moratorium and the unknowns that are coming our way, we are really trying to make sure that we can move quickly and swiftly through the city and help those that are in detrimental need right now. One thing I do know is NAVA on her side with legal aid, they're doing everything through the eviction court. And then we also have the court.
Tamika, we lost you.
Whoops.
The power went out over here at the Edison building. It looks like lights just flickered off and stuff. So us Edison building folks might be unavailable. She was on a desktop, I think. I'm on a laptop, and I don't know how long this Wi-Fi will last. So we might have to postpone this meeting or something. I'm not exactly sure. IT person might be able to correct me.
Yeah. Al, are you here with us? Hello, Al.
Sam, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can.
Yeah, I'm on a laptop. Let me run and check with Al and see what.
Let's give you all a minute. Let's give you all a minute to sort of pull it back together. Deborah Gilbert, I think I was speaking with Lisa Osenka a few weeks ago, and the number, it was sort of startling that no one had been put out from housing, and I may have that wrong. So how has it worked for you with Section 8 and with the other housing programs?
We're only doing terminations for people that have moved out of the unit on their own. So they basically forfeited their assistance. Otherwise, we've been not terminating a lot of the families like we would do, and we're trying just to work with them more and more, you know, try to help them stay on the program.
Right. That's great.
The community ministries have been able to help a lot of Section 8 folks because they can work through our rental assistance process pretty easily. And it's also, you know, 30% of their net income is their responsibility. So we've had a good relationship with a lot of property managers to sign the attestation form and get that information back and forth. I mean, rental assistance, Cassandra's not here, but rental assistance is not just I go in and say, hey, I owe $500. I mean, you have to have a copy of the lease. You have to have an attestation form signed by the landlord and the tenant, and you have to have a ledger statement from the landlord. It's a lot of paperwork to get these rental assistance checks out. And like HCM, we usually, do $60,000 to $80,000 of rental assistance in a year, and we've done $300,000 this year. So, you've got multiple groups working to get this done. And I will tell you, the frustrating thing though is that there was no money allocated for overhead. So it was dollar for dollar rent assistance that came through community. Like with LG&E assistance, we can claim up to 9% for overhead. But for the rental assistance, it was dollar for dollar. Whatever dollar we got from whatever FEMA or housing, it went straight out directly to the landlords.
Right.
So let me just shed a little bit of light on the paperwork that's required and kind of the difference between what we had previously and what we have now, just so you guys have some understanding. So previously, specifically with the One Louisville Fund and the dollars that came through the CARES Act, we could do a self-attestation of income, and we could do a self-attestation of COVID nexus. When the Treasury gave us the new money this year, they unfortunately put all of those strings that Troy was just talking about on it. So it specifically says in the guidance that there has to be a lease to show proof of that they're a valid tenant. They specifically have to show proof of their income for the last 60 days. They specifically have to show documentation of the amount that is past due. So the Treasury put a bunch of stipulations on the new money, and that has really slowed down the process. I will just tell you, the Treasury money that came out in February, really had some really harsh strings attached to it. Now, we've gotten some flexibility with the Treasury since then, but it requires, if we can't get, so it says, if you can't get 60 days, then get the most you can get. So, so now we're like, okay, what's the most we can get? And so just recently we went to a thing called fact-based proxy. And that basically says if you live in any zip code in Louisville except 40223, 40023, or 40059, that you can just do a self-attestation of your income and move on. And that has been huge because we don't have a lot of people in 0023 or 0059. We have several people in 40223. And so they have to provide proof of income. But this has really been, as Cassandra said, it has been a moving target. The regulations change like the wind, and it has been very difficult. The area community ministries have been instrumental in getting these dollars out the door. They have been incredibly beneficial. Literally the apartment association, they have been so instrumental in making sure that the landlords understand that we're not just asking for this stuff because we want to, we're asking for it because we have to. So it's not like we're just trying to consume paper. It's a requirement by the Treasury. So I will tell you that I have spoken at several national events since probably March or April, just on what we're doing. And it always comes back to, we have such huge community support. Legal aid services, I mean, they're helping tenants fill paperwork out. They're sending them over. We've got this group of eviction prevention people that meet weekly and discuss the issues and the problems. And when a problem arises, then they tackle that problem. And it has been this amazing community effort to get to where we are today. So, we are Cassandra's group over there, the neighborhood places. I mean, they are doing amazing work, but it is our community. Our community has stepped up and really made this possible. So thank you to all of you.
Isn't it nice
And
to
Marilyn
hear
Harris
something
is also a rock star, so don't forget that. Marilyn's a rock star in all of this and has been really helpful to guide a lot of us, because in community ministries, we haven't done this level or volume of work And so she's provided a lot of assistance to community ministries and stopmyeviction.org. So it's been great.
Right. Troy, you said that normally in a year you do 80,000 in rental assistance, and this year you've already done over 330,000.
Yeah.
And when does your year begin?
Well, I'm just doing a rolling 12 months because our fiscal
Okay.
year starts September 1.
Yeah.
We align with the federal year for some reason. October 1, I mean. So October 1.
And so that's the money. And let me point out, Troy is talking about the money that the ACMs have spent out of your donations in your pocket, right?
Yeah, the money through our donations, extra donations that have come in.
Oh, okay.
That
from
does not
congregations.
include the over 500 applications that the ACMs, the Louisville Rapid Access Network, all of our community service providers have submitted to my office to pay, and that's over $5 million. So, I mean, it's a lot of money that they are handling, a ton of paperwork and a ton of applications. So we couldn't be where we are without everybody doing these little pieces that make the collective whole.
Right. Right.
So, guys, I loved it that we were still having the conversation. Oh my goodness, this was a good conversation. Then I got kicked off, and I was like, man, the day that we picked to have a great conversation on dealing with eviction prevention. I just wanted to ask Janet and everybody in the board, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to make sure, do you all want to postpone this to the remainder of the agenda until the next meeting? Or are you all okay with us proceeding and having Sam present on the additional information? Sam and Ethan, even though we do not have a quorum. So what that means is that at the next meeting, we will need to vote on the information that was presented in this meeting.
I say we postpone it so we have a quorum, and I won't remember what we said at this meeting at the next meeting. And Tamika, we did say bad things about you, but we knew you couldn't hear it, so it felt good.
Well, thank you, Troy. I always appreciate
I'm just joking. I'm joking.
Hey,
I know.
Tamika, let me also say, I believe that Kay held a position on the Community Action Board, and now that she's part of your staff, I think maybe I need to get somebody else appointed to that position from
We
development.
actually, we once she came on, we started working on that. And what we ended up doing is that's Lucia Buckner, who's not here today. We voted in, I think, last meeting.
I'm sorry, who was it? I didn't hear the name.
Letitia Buckner.
Oh, Tisha, okay.
Tisha Buckner,
with
right.
Economic
I know who Tisha is,
development.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so we
great.
thought we would go with economic development since we've got you with
Perfect.
the housing piece. So yeah, thanks for bringing tracking that though. We appreciate
Okay.
that.
So what we'll do is we will actually move all of our agenda items, but Janet, I believe that has to be a vote. Is that right? In order for us to move the agenda items to the next meeting, is that correct?
The only reason I'd say we don't is because we don't have a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can't vote. It just.
Right.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure. I want to double check everything.
Right, right. And let me look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got somebody in their car. Who is in your car?
Oh, there's Jackie. So we might have quorum. Okay. Okay, so count it over again. Sam, we might have quorum.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 12 at this point.
So we have 12. So we actually have quorum. Is that right, Sam?
Yep, we need 12.
Okay, so guys, if you will bear with us, we'll go through this we'll try to do as quickly as possible to get it all done within the time allotted, which is 1:30. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Sam. Sam?
Do we want to approve the 2 minutes really quickly first?
Sure. Did everyone have a chance to see Sam's, pardon me, did you see the minutes in the packet that Sam sent out to you, everyone? Okay. Anybody
This is
need a
Troy.
few?
I move approval of the minutes.
That's Troy. A second, please. Jeffrey Hoban. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Great, they're approved. And then, hold on, let me get back down to my agenda here, y'all. Okay, so Sam's going to talk a little bit about the outcomes analysis and program report, and then Ethan is going to talk about the revised strategic plan. And those both need approval today, please, you all. So Sam or Ethan?
I'm here. Thanks, Janet. I'm just gonna give me just a second here to get set up. Okay, do you see a blank screen right now?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
black.
Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to run through an analysis of some of our outcomes achieved during FY21. So that's 7/1/2020 through 6/30/2021. And then I'll just briefly touch on some of our proposed strategies for the current fiscal year, FY22. Sorry, so I just wanted to include a success story in the report because I think it's always nice, to be able to connect to the more human, everything we do has the human aspect, but, I think, our numbers obsession is important, but can kind of take away from that. It's nice to have the personal stories. I'm not going to read it. It's just for you to read, at your leisure. You received a copy of this in the packet, so feel free to read that when you get a chance. And so just quickly before we dive into the outcomes, I wanted to spend a quick second on a few of the key characteristics of our participants during FY21. So we served a total of 52,600 unique individuals in FY21, and that's compared with a little over 41,000 in the previous year. And so just under 41% of individuals served were under 18 years of age, 69% were Black, and 61% of participants were female. And of the 24,000 unique households that we served in FY21, 63% of those households were single person, while 26% were single parent. And of those single parent households, approximately 94% were female headed. And then 87% of households were renters. In terms of participant income, so 75% of households for which income was reported were living at or below federal poverty guidelines. So if we take our average household size, which is about 2, that's just under $17,500 per year, and that's at 100% of poverty. Many of these households had incomes well below this. So 59% of that group had incomes at or below 50% of poverty. And overall, 44% of all of our households had incomes below 50% of poverty, which equates approximately to $8,700 annually for the average household size. And that actually, that 44%, that number is up from 37% in FY20. And, if I just had to make an educated guess here, I'm, guessing that COVID maybe be to blame for that increase, thinking about joblessness rates and stuff like that. And we did see an increase this year in the number of participants that are in the labor force, so actively looking for work, but are unemployed. And that went from, just about 6,000 in FY20 all the way up to nearly 10,000 in FY21. So that's just something to note there. And then, that graph on the right, you can see sort of their work status there. The majority were categorized as unemployed and not in the labor force, so not actively looking for work. It could include retired people, students, or just people that aren't actively seeking work. Okay, so let's just move on to outcomes now for FY21, and I'm going to take a look first at our economic mobility work. So 2,200 individuals participated in case management in FY21, and 101 participants received targeted financial coaching. 90 participants were able to meet their basic needs for 3 consecutive months, and 65 were able to do that for 6 consecutive months. So when we're talking about meeting their basic needs, basically this means that their gross income was greater than the total of their basic expenses for the suggested time period. And then we typically define the basic expenses as housing, utilities, food, and transportation. We also had 45 participants report improved financial well-being. And this number is low. In FY19 and FY20, we usually saw about that number hover around 250. And we also saw a drop in our employment outcomes this year. Of participants enrolled in related employment programs, just 11 obtained employment. And this is a significant decrease from prior years. Usually that number sits around 150. And mainly this is because we diverted, a lot of resources, both financial or otherwise, in terms of, workforce and that sort of thing to address, emergency assistance needs as a result of the pandemic. So, housing, utilities, food, things like that. 675 checking and savings accounts were opened during FY21 through the Bank on Louisville initiative. And this number is also down from prior years. In FY20, it was over 5,000, but this is mainly due to a change in Bank on data collection process. So they're now only counting bank accounts that are certified by the CFE fund, and that's in accordance with national account standards. So in previous years, several partners reported on accounts that did not meet those standards. So moving forward, they're gonna follow the data collection standards like that. We also saw the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, aka VITA, bring in a total of $12.2 million to the community. And this is an increase of about 1.3 million from the previous year, but overall, this number has been trending downward since FY19. And again, we believe COVID has, had a hand in this. VITA is usually conducted in person, but in FY20, everything sort of moved to, virtual format because that's just what had to happen. And, virtual, as we saw today, has its limitations when it comes to this type of work. So, but overall, though, what we're seeing with our local VITA program is consistent with national trends. Okay, so next up, our homelessness prevention results for FY21, what was achieved during this period. Well, looking at that first table there, we saw an 8% overall decrease in homelessness from 2020 to 2021, and that's according to the most recent point in time estimates. I just want to note, we usually like to report on that using the homeless census data, which counts the number of unique individuals served by homeless providers for a certain time period, because it's a little more comparable to the JCPS homelessness data that you see on the right. But the 2020 and 2021 data have not been released yet, so we're using the point in time here. And also, there was a 21% decrease in sheltered homelessness, but we also saw an increase in unsheltered homelessness. So you see that 82% increase, that represents 116 individuals. Now, in terms of child and youth homelessness, there was a 5% decrease in the number of homeless children last year, according to JCPS data. Okay, so this slide focuses specifically on our homelessness initiative. This is the Metro Council funded work we're doing with various community partners to decrease homelessness. And I think they, in particular, focus on street homelessness. So just over 3,000 individuals were served through these initiatives. And of these, about 33% moved into some type of housing situation during their time as a participant. So this slide also includes data on participants who left the program during FY21 and provides details regarding their exit destinations. So 29% exited to temporary situations like, places not meant for habitation. So on the streets, I think maybe living in cars might be part of that. That also includes emergency shelters, temporary situations, and transitional housing. And then we had 9% that exited to permanent housing destinations like apartments or permanent supportive housing. And then the other category is the largest component there. And the majority of this was comprised of unknown exit destinations. And it also included, people that exited to institutional situations, and some other categories there.
Sam, do you know how those numbers compared to the previous year?
I don't have that here, but I can, that data's, I'm sure, available. I could ask.
That's okay, don't worry.
Ethan to, run some reports. It's the one thing I didn't compare to the previous year. Damn it.
Of course. Sorry about that.
No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. It's a good question. Here are the participant demographics for the Homelessness Initiative. Of those for whom data was reported, 64% were male, 25% were between the ages of 35 and 44, and then 56% were white. 5% entered programs with at least one physical and/or mental health condition. Just under 75% of the total conditions reported related to mental health, substance abuse, and physical disability. And the rate of each of these is pretty equal. As you can see from the chart at the bottom left there, they're each about 25%, give or take. And then 68% of participants were in homeless living situations, and 14% were in institutional living situations. Finally, then, just in terms of income, 71% of participants whom data were reported had no monthly cash income. And those that did, the income was pretty low. So next up are household stability results. So there are, several categories that we view as having a considerable impact on household stability. I'm just going to hit on a couple here. So under food security, our Dare to Care neighborhood site distributed just over 285,000 pounds of food to individuals. 100 vouchers were distributed to seniors for the purchase of fresh unprocessed fruits and vegetables. More than 345,000 meals were served through our senior nutrition programs, including Meals on Wheels and congregate meal sites, and that number is up from 225,000 in the previous year. And then because of Meals on Wheels, we had over 1,000 seniors, 60 plus, that were able to maintain an independent living situation. And that's up from FY20, which is stood at around 770, I think. So, and then under housing, so nearly 15,000 individuals avoided eviction through the support of our various rental assistance and eviction prevention programs, and 179 avoided foreclosure through mortgage assistance. Through various home energy assistance programs like LIHEAP, potential utility shutoffs were prevented for over 18,000 unique households. And then at the bottom of the slide, I included some LG and E disconnect data. There's an annual chart on the left, but from the monthly chart on the bottom right, you can see that LG&E has resumed disconnections after suspending them for just over a year. I think that started in June, and that's the most recent we have. I don't think that we have. I'm not sure what it looks like for July and partial August. In terms of community engagement, our volunteer programs resulted in just over $4.4 million in savings to the community. And that's a decrease from $5.3 million the previous year. But this was not a surprise. I think we've all kind of felt the impact of COVID, and sort of how it makes it difficult for volunteer programs. So that number was calculated using the national estimated value of volunteer time per hour, which was $28.54. And that number includes senior nutrition, RCP, the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, FTP, foster grandparents, and VITA. And our community engagement work during FY21 also strengthened the capacity of the community at large to serve vulnerable populations. The way it did that, we had 68 agencies engaged in financial empowerment certification. And so ultimately that expands access to these types of resources for low to moderate income individuals. We funded 70 community partners through the External Agency Fund, and 54 organizations partnered with us to improve the quality of youth services across the community via the Blocks program, building Louisville's out of school time. Finally, I'm going to review our results as they relate to our COVID-19 work. So here, we have the state level data from week 32 and 33 of the U.S. Census Bureau's household pulse survey. Maybe to help put some things into context. So 11% of Kentucky adults reported their household did not have enough to eat during the survey period, and that's compared with 10% of all U.S. adults. 14% of Kentucky adults reported their household was not caught up on rent, and that's compared with 15% of U.S. adults. And then 31% of Kentucky adults reported their household had difficulty covering usual household expenses during the survey period, and that's compared with 28% of U.S. adults. Okay, so through this is for FY21, so this is again July 2020 through June 2021. During that period, about 6,800 unique households received financial assistance through the Eviction Prevention program. Over 16,000 households received home energy utility assistance through LIHEAP. 2,800 received LG&E bill assistance through the Metro Utility Assistance Program. 3,500 households received water and home energy utility assistance through the Healthy at Home program. And 1,700 households received rent, utility, food, transportation, and child care assistance through the COVID-19 Relief Fund. And then we also reported 22,600 stays at the Healthy Day Shelter, and then 16,000 stays at the Healthy Overnight Shelter. So this is a snapshot of all COVID-specific funding that we spent during FY21. And I just want to note, this doesn't include LIHEAP. I didn't include it here. I know that it's been helping with COVID, but it's not included here. So far and away, the majority of funding was spent on housing, particularly rental assistance. We also provided assistance via, certain barrier support, things like food gift cards, Kroger gift cards, transportation, bus passes, and then, child care assistance. We also provided some employment and education support, but in a smaller number just because of what's been going on. Okay, so that's it for the outcomes. I just wanted to take a quick look at some of our proposed strategies for FY22 in relation to the outcomes. These strategies have all been pulled directly from our strategic plan, which you've all seen, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. I'll just touch on the first few. So we want to continue our work on creating the Louisville Economic Mobility Lab to analyze barriers to economic mobility in the area. We want to work on reducing the rate of homelessness in Louisville to below all peer cities. And we also want to increase participation in RCS volunteer programs. And then here's another success story. This one's focused on LIHEAP. You can read that whenever you get a chance. You've got a copy of it. And that's all I have for you all. Do you have any questions or you want to comment on any of this?
Yeah, if there are no comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the outcomes analysis on this programmatic report.
Motion to approve. Neva
Who was that,
Scott.
please?
Neva Scott.
Neva, thank you, Neva. A second, please.
Joanne Orr, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
And Ethan is up next.
Perfect. Hello, everybody. Can y'all hear me and everything?
Yes.
Great. All right. I will go ahead and share my screen here. And there are only a few updates since the last time I spoke with y'all, so I'm going to focus on those. Since the last update, there was a initiative about encouraging RCS staff to receive financial empowerment training, and that's been a requirement for staff now in the annual training deal. So everyone is expected to get certified in financial empowerment training. And then in Sam's outcome presentation, she noted a bit about the Outreach and Advocacy's Office's new project, and that is the other update, a new goal in the plan about the advocacy and outreach team wanting to have a better way to track their work, which places they go to hold meetings in order to perform their advocacy, or which event partners they work with most often, to get a better sense about the advocacy and outreach work done by the office. And the team is going to use a tech-based solution for it, like a survey form. If y'all have heard of Logic and ArcGIS and all of that stuff, it's in relation to all of that. So that is a new initiative or new goal in the department about improving the data tracking and data reporting capacity for advocacy and outreach. So the updates were that the office is now expecting staff to have financial empowerment training, and that the outreach and advocacy team is trying to improve their data collection practices. And then any thoughts, questions, comments? Perfect. I wanted to keep it short and sweet for everybody. I am always around if there are any questions or issues. Happy to help.
Thank you, Ethan. And we need to approve these additions. Am I correct, Sam?
Yeah, we want you all to approve anytime there's a goal level change.
Right. Okay. So if we could have a motion to approve these two additions, adjustments to the plan.
It's Jeffrey also.
I heard Jeffrey Hoban with a motion, made the motion. A second, please.
I'll second Angie Disler.
Angie Disler is making a second. All in favor? Show of hands. All opposed? Any abstentions? And the motion passes. Thank you. Let me buzz back down to my agenda, y'all. All righty. Well, hot ziggity, guys. We have completed our agenda. Tamika, anything else that you need to share with folks?
At this moment, no. Cassandra did a great job of updating you all on eviction prevention. Thank you, Marilyn, for all your assistance there. We can't do it without you, your key partner, and Troy. Troy started that conversation, so I appreciate you and everything you do there. And without you all, we would not be able to move forward and make these real executive decisions on behalf of our department. So I do appreciate everyone. And for your participation on this board as well. I know that this pandemic and everything that has arisen has brought a lot of anxiety for each and every one of us. And then also, you know, the unknown. So as we move forward, we just all have to realize we got to depend on each other and in order to get through this. So I appreciate every one of y'all. Thank you so much.
Any updates or announcements for anyone? Joanne?
I knew you'd get me sitting over here.
Well, I just don't think we've ever had a meeting where you haven't had an announcement, dear, so I
Well,
want to check in.
Give a good Louisville's coming up on the 17th of September. And of course, the Sickle Cell Association is definitely out there as our only fundraiser this year. Looking a little depressed today. I got some really not good news. I had applied for the ARP for the Sickle Cell Association and was informed this morning that we didn't qualify because we are a state agency with the word Kentuckiana in our name. So now I guess I'm gonna have to go to Frankfurt and fight for what's the next step up? The funding. So go from one, and when you don't get one, you just dust yourself up and get off and go to another. So keep your fingers crossed for me.
Joanne, I think your middle name is Tenacity.
Okay.
Yeah, like many of the people on this board. So,
Yes.
well, thank you, everyone. Just a reminder that we meet again in, that's where are we, August? In October. All righty. So, and we will be virtual for that meeting. And it sounds like unless something changes dramatically, you all will be virtual through the end of the year. And then we'll judge it after that. Okie dokie. Well, everyone take care. If you have kids in school, hope it goes well for them. And thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Joanne, stay on for 1 minute if you would.
Okay.
I want to tell you about a book.
Okay.
And Jackie, you're welcome to be on this too. That's fine. I read a book. I just finished it. It is called The Code Breaker. And I have a feeling as I was reading it, I thought, boy, I bet Joanne knows all about this. But this